Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Megan. I'm a 26-year-old mom. I've got a little guy named Rowan who's almost 2, and my daughter Juniper is due in July. And today I'm sitting down, getting cozy in front of the fire because I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do differently with baby number 2 than I did with my first baby. Obligatory disclaimer, every baby is different. These things may or may not work for you, but this is just based on my previous experience, what I feel like I could improve from last time. So if these don't sound like a good fit to you, totally fine, no judgment, but this is personally what I'm gonna be doing. I don't have like a ton of parenting regrets for my son because I am totally type A and very much a researcher. So I feel like I spent a lot of time learning things before he was born, but there are a few like bonehead mistakes that I look back at old videos and I go, what were we doing? So Matt and I spent some time trying to list out everything that we want to do differently this time, and I'm going to go through the list with you guys. The first one, starting right in the hospital, is that we are going to be giving Juniper a pacifier right away. We waited until like the 3 to 4 week mark with Rowan because I was so scared of nipple confusion, and only afterward did I learn that nipple confusion is actually really rare. And I think I could have saved myself and my nipples a lot of grief when I knew he was just flutter sucking or comfort sucking if I had given him a pacifier. Obviously still paid attention to his hunger cues and fed him, regularly, even if you wanted to cluster feed or whatever. But there's sometimes when like, you're just comfort sucking. So we are going to use a pacifier right away this time. The second thing that I want to do differently is to brush up on my newborn sleep knowledge before she gets here, rather than waiting until like the middle of the night on her second and third day of life, like trying to do a crash course at 3 a.m. on my phone because I can't get her to sleep and I don't know what to do. That is pretty much what happened with Rowan. I feel like I spent so much time preparing for labor and delivery and breastfeeding, but I didn't do a lot of research on sleep, and that was our biggest struggle with him, was figuring out how to get him to actually sleep for longer than like 20 minutes at a time. So this time I'm going to go back to the course that I took and go through the whole thing probably this month so that I just have a refresher. I'll look at my notes from last time, and that way I'm not, again, staring at my phone screen in the middle of the night trying to figure out what the heck to do. The next thing that I want to do is be more consistent with offering her a bottle. I do plan to breastfeed if I'm able to. I was lucky enough to get to breastfeed Rowan for almost 16 months, but again, we were so scared of nipple confusion that we didn't give him a bottle for a long time. And then we did give him a bottle for like a little bit, like once a week. And then I stopped because I was so worried about my milk supply. And by the time we tried to reintroduce it, he wouldn't take a bottle anymore, which was really tough because it meant that I had to be home every 2 to 3 hours to feed him. And so I didn't have a lot of freedom to like do work things and stuff. So this time we're going to be consistent in offering her at least one bottle every other day, just to make sure that she's used to it and she doesn't start to refuse it. So my next 2 things are going to sound like they directly contradict each other, and they kind of do, but it kind of makes sense, so hang with me. Number 1, we are going to have a really solid nap time routine this time, because like I said, there are videos that I go back and I watch from Rowan's newborn days and I'm like, what were we doing? He's like in the Snuggle Me, but he's not swaddled. There's no sound machine. He's not in a dark room. It's like, no wonder he didn't sleep. So this time we are going to institute all of those things. We're going to be using our Hatch sound machine again instead of the one that's built into our baby monitor, which is what we tried to do with Rowan at first, and it did not work. It would loop, but there would be like a second of silence in between the loops of the ocean sounds, and the silence would like wake him up. It was the weirdest thing. So we're going to be using the Hatch monitor. We're going to be more consistent with swaddling for naps even when she's little, and we're going to put her in a dark room for her naps as much as possible. But on the flip side of this, I'm also going to worry less about her sleeping when we're out and about and actually encourage that. With Rowan, we were like in the heart of the panty, so it's not like we could really go anywhere. And because of that, he never really learned to sleep on the go. He wouldn't sleep in the car, wouldn't sleep in his car seat. And so I'm hoping that between baby wearing and car trips and stuff that she will be able to sleep a little bit more out and about. I think with Rowan, we really revolved our whole lives around his schedule. And obviously, like, the baby's needs come first, but I also think that there's an opportunity to, I don't know, help them learn how to be flexible and fit into your lifestyle rather than the other way around. Along with that, I also want to make sure that we're getting out and about sooner in her life. And again, this wasn't really our fault because it was Rona and we couldn't go anywhere. Like, it was legal to go anywhere that wasn't essential for the first little bit of his life, but I'm hoping that I can travel with her a little bit more. Not like travel on vacation, but just like go to the grocery store, you know, whatever, and be a little bit more mobile, because by the time we were able to get out and about with Rowan, I had worked it up to be this big scary thing in my head, and it took me a long time to get over it. So if you're in that same boat, I do have a video all about how to get your toddler out of the house, how to overcome your fear around that, and just make things easy. So I'll link it for you, but I'm hoping to avoid that issue this time by just kind of making it the default that she comes along with us places when it's safe to do so. Something else that we'll be doing later down the line when she's like 5 to 6 months old is watching her cues for baby-led weaning rather than watching the calendar. Because with Rowan, he was starting to show signs that he was really interested in and ready for solids around like 5.5 months. And I put so much judgment on myself where I was like, everything says don't start until 6 months. If you start earlier than 6 months, then your baby could have a problem with like obesity later in life and blah, 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 blah. But honestly, I think we waited too long. And I think that had we started at 5 months, it probably would have been better because he wanted to and he was interested and it kept him happy. So we're going to, in all things, just kind of be watching her cues instead of like waiting for the specific like weekly and monthly milestones to do things. I'd say the biggest thing that I really regret with Rowan is that we didn't do very much skin to skin when he was a newborn. I cuddled with him a lot, but we didn't do a ton of skin to skin, and at the time I was just like, it's too much hassle to take my clothes off and like my boobs are leaking because of breastfeeding and and now I look back and I regret that so much because I think skin to skin is like awesome for your baby's development, like temperature regulation, but also like that little newborn cuddly season doesn't last forever, and he's not like a very cuddly kid, and I'm wondering if maybe he would have been more if we had done more skin to skin. I don't know, you know, you can't say, but that's something that I'm planning on doing more with her, and that Matt's also planning on doing more with her, taking the extra few minutes to like take my shirt off and really snuggle her close, you know? Something else that we are going to do this time around that I talked about in my video about what baby products I'm buying for her is we're going to get a wipe warmer from middle of the night diaper changes. And I'm also not going to be changing her at every single night feeding, because in the beginning, Rowan was up, you know, 4 or 5 times a night, and I was changing his diaper every single time with cold wipes, and it was waking him up and he would get angry and then he wouldn't go back to sleep. And honestly, probably changing her diaper every other time, or just for sure when I know that there's a poop, or just kind of feeling to see does she actually need a change or not, is going to hopefully result in better sleep for all of us. I know that I wouldn't want to have like a cold wipe on my skin in the middle of the night like 4 or 5 times. So diapers are very absorbent. I'll definitely still be changing her often. Like, I'm not just gonna leave her wet, but at the same time, if she's up, you know, an hour and a half after her last feeding, I probably won't change her again until the next time she wakes. Then the last thing that I'm going to be doing differently is using the OWLET monitor sock. I have talked about this before, but we bought one for Rowan on Facebook Marketplace, and it just so happened that it was 3 years old, and that's how long the batteries last on those things. So we could never get it to work because the sensor was essentially useless and it needed to be replaced. We did eventually replace it, but by that time I wasn't like super nervous anymore about his sleep. So this time we have the new sensor, and I'm gonna use it when she sleeps at night because, I don't know, I'm just an anxious mama. I'm hoping that this time around I'll be less worried overall because I've done this before. I know, you know, what a newborn is like, and obviously every kid is different, but I don't think that I will freak out as much about, like, I remember calling the nurse in the middle of the night. I think it was like Rowan's second night, and being like, I could hear his stomach digesting. Is that okay? And they were like, it's fine. So I want to reduce my worry where I can, like with the OWLET. I think their new version is like not great, but we have the second generation, and again, we got it used, so it was pretty cheap. But I also think I'll just naturally, hopefully, worry less. I am really thankful for having done all of the research that I did when I was pregnant with Rowan, because I do think that it gave me a really solid foundation, and I learned a lot that I've retained for this time around as well, which is really great. Like I said, I don't have too many regrets. There are little adjustments I want to make here or there, but we're never going to do it perfectly. We're always going to make mistakes or do something that's maybe right for one kid and not right for another kid, and we don't know until it's not working. Yeah, overall, I'm going to try to worry less. I'm going to try to give myself more grace, and I'm going to try to be a lot more flexible, because I was very rigid with Rowan's schedule. I didn't put him like on a schedule until he was like 6 weeks old or whatever, but like the wake windows would stress me out. Like I felt like it had to be to the minute. If I don't get him down right now, he's going to be overtired, and I'm just gonna let that go this time. I hope. Postpartum hormones are crazy too. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have anything to add, anything that you would do differently the next time around if you have another kid, or anything that you learned along the way with multiple kids, please leave them in the comments down below, because I need all the help that I can get, and we can all help each other out by sharing our knowledge. And again, if this is your first time on this channel, I'm so happy to have you here. If motherhood and lifestyle videos are up your alley, I would absolutely love it if you would click that subscribe button down below so you can be a part of our community. As usual, I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye!